Hi, this is Bob Scully, and welcome to another edition of the World Show, the Entrepreneur Series. And indeed, one of North America's great entrepreneurs is on the set today, but the product's also on the set, and a little bit later, we're going to consume the product on the set, something we haven't done very often. My guest is J.F. Robert Bolduc. Welcome.
Thank you for the invitation.
And the product is this. The product is called Matol Km, and it comes in a very plain bottle and makes no pretense at being something it is not. Taste-wise, odor-wise, nothing to write home about. But a lot of people, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people now, I guess, around the world, bought into your dream and consume this. First of all, what is it?
Well, it's a food supplement, and there's an explosion happening worldwide, and it's about preventive health. And products like our Matol Km are now in abundance everywhere in people's lives. So we're riding a wave, and I think it is a worthwhile wave, and certainly Matol Km has been a leader in that field.
And when you first, you didn't invent it, someone else did, and we're going to talk about him in a moment. When you first smelled it and looked at it and tasted it, you said it looks like motor oil and tastes like motor oil, it must be motor oil. So you were a skeptic. And if I read the ingredients sound mighty fine. It's chamomile root and celery
seed. It's made
seed.
of all natural products that are manufactured to the highest of standards. It's all pharmaceutically grade in quality control and everything. But you're wrong. I was not taken aback by the product. I was literally inspired by it. It was a great man called Jurak, an Austrian, who in 1922 went alpine climbing, endangered the lives of his friends. They were roped together, came down from that mountain excursion and said, I will never endanger my friends' lives again.
Because he lost his strength when he was up there.
He got drained completely, which happens in cases where you're frightened and when you need to pull on everything you've got. And he was an athletic man, a strong man, but it just was drained out of him. And the coincidence that made it, in my mind, potentially a destiny factor was his studies were in phytotherapy, plant life, plant science. And he decided there and then that he was going to create and try to find what he considered to be the perfect catalyst.
So he put together all these herbs, and of course he spent years really like the guy in the basement with the bubbling,
bubbling little 9 months of hard work, scientific work, and he believed that he had put together the perfect catalyst for the blood. It's a product made out of medicinal plants and derivative minerals, and
it's got dandelion root,
one of a kind.
Yeah, dandelion root, celery seed. It is interesting. Chamomile, passion flower, thyme, gentian root, saw palmetto, alfalfa. So all good stuff. But the miracle seen from his point of view and your point of view is how they come together then.
Well, it's the molecular structure. You can throw in a lot of plants and not really come up with anything except an empty product. The real chemistry is in the molecular structure. And he himself said that over and over again. He never took quite the credit that he should probably. But he kept saying that he was inspired. He put this molecular structure together in his dream before he actually went to the lab, after about 8.5, 9 months of work and research. And he, at that point, because what we have to remember here today, years later, when we're looking at $2.5 billion of cumulative sales worldwide, and 35 million bottles in the hands of people to make it a movement, a health movement, is that in 1922, this was a single man on his own doing and creating a product, a little preparation, for no other purposes than to make sure that him, his family, and his friends had a product that they could rely on and depend on.
It's that Austrian and Swiss tradition. I went to school in Austria, and they love to do. They boil things, and then they put liquor in it, Kräuterwasser and so on, and then schnapps, and things like that, and they get drunk on it. This has of course, no alcohol.
Absolutely.
Although you've told me I can have a Matol martini, should I wish. Right?
Well,
I can mix it with alcohol.
The beauty of this product is that you can have it with water, you can have it straight, you can have it with anything else. It will not dilute itself and lose of its potency. which is the greatest thing about it.
But one thing, though, in the story that does strike me is the meeting between Carl Jurak and yourself. Without that, indeed, he would never have become an entrepreneur. He was not an entrepreneur. He was an inventor. Yeah. You're the entrepreneur. And you meet him decades after that discovery in Canada, and he is still sort of bottling it in the basement and giving it to friends and so on, having no idea that it has potential for others. But you see the potential. First you try it, and it cures your skin. You had a skin problem, I think, didn't you?
Well, curing is a big word, but what happened was I was very good friends with his son, and we through his son, I had the opportunity of meeting Carl, and realized that for their whole family, this was a way of life. I mean, they not only, all of the family looked fabulous, and they were young at heart, and you know, I couldn't say that I believed that it had everything to do with genes. I mean, I just don't believe that. In today's age, you need help. Mm-hmm. And so when I was offered by Carl this product, I was actually offered the product by his son because we had fundamentally been together at a dinner party, and I had witnessed him leaving late in the evening after the dinner party, and at 10 in the morning, this man was 13 years older than I was, he bounces into my kitchen ready for a set of tennis, and he is like raring to go, and I'm going, wow. Mm-hmm. And anyway, that's when I started using the product. In my case, I had the fortunate good luck to be in the first percentages of people that got immediate results. Now,
because you did have kind of a skin rash or something.
Well, I had a kind of a skin rash that had been around forever and ever, and my family and I were just like, I would have, at the time I had biopsies and everything, and nobody could come up with what I was allergic to or why this was coming back. But since that day, since I first started taking this preparation, I've never had this before, and I have to believe that it has to do with my molecular structure, my metabolism. But that's what happened. I was. If 3 people are here drinking this product for the first time, I may get results within a matter of hours and days. You may get it within a matter of weeks and a month, and a third person within a matter of a few months. I guess if I had been in the third group, I may have not done anything about it. But I was one of the ones that immediately, the recuperation, the energy, the stamina, it was all there, and it was there quantified, you know, like in a huge way.
Well, that is telling, but even from an entrepreneurial point of view, very interesting is all the entrepreneurial choices you made. First, you got into, you knew about multi-level marketing and direct sales and so on. You had read about that, but you made some choices that I find interesting. You never dolled up the packaging. This is a plain bottle. You never dolled up. It does look like motor oil. You do say that in your book that the first time you saw it, it's not the greatest tasting thing. Why did you make those choices? You decided it would be sort of upfront, or?
Well, first of all, you have to understand that this is a company, Matol Botanical International, that was created and inspired by the work of a man called Carl Jurak. I mean, we just happened to put a shell on this and make sure that we created an organization that would attract like-minded people like ourselves who had come to the realization that health is a priority, not a luxury, that we can do something about it and fundamentally have a place for them to come. But Carl was so attentive about the whole process. His story was the basis upon which we built the company. And his telling his story, his testimonial, we figured we had to keep on going in the same direction. So the bottle was the simplest one we could find. We never went to any flavoring of any nature that would allow it to be a banana or a strawberry or this. Mm-hmm. That's the original taste. That's the authentic product. That's the way it's always been.
And it has, I mean, it has grown by leaps and bounds. And you started really, literally, it was a cottage industry. You started with riding in your car, going from Montreal to Ottawa, selling 1 bottle in a night, and never getting discouraged. It's kind of discouraging. You do tell the story in your book that one night, you know, you set off in a rainstorm or some snowstorm, and with Carl Jurak's son, and you meet 12 school teachers, sell 1 bottle, and I'll let you tell the rest of the story because.
What you have to remember about Matol and the industry that it's in is that we had never been part of this industry. I mean, I had never been a distributor for another company, knew nothing about direct sales outside of its reputation a la Tupperware, a la Amway. I had no idea what this was about. But once I discovered that truly the foundations upon the direct selling, for the direct selling industry, was relationship marketing, it made sense to me, because we were going to tell a story and tell our own story and then tell Carl's story and then make sure that people had a chance. So the way to do it was to set up groups that would be in homes, could be kitchen, could be living room, could be dining room meetings, 2 people, 5 people.
Well, like Tupperware,
people.
like the Tupperware party.
Same story everywhere. And that night that you're referring to, you know, here were 2 people that were driving about 100 miles to get to a house where a person had put together about 10 of their friends, and we did a full presentation with a little flip chart trying to explain how direct sales works, presenting our product, explaining what natural products are and what this one specifically could do. And at the very end, after 2.5 hours, it's snowing out there, the snowflakes are this big. We walk out of there having literally only had one person who said, I'm interested in having a bottle. So we're back on in the Jeep on the highway, and my friend kind of fell asleep a little bit, and we're on the side of the road. He wakes up, we get on the side of the road, and he says, what are we doing? I mean, here we are, grown men, trying to literally create something out of nothing because it didn't exist. There was no demand. This was at the very beginning of natural products and what they could do for people. But, you know, the answer was, this is what we do tonight because we're going to do it again tomorrow night because it's important and we have found our calling. And this industry is all based on...
That was the right answer, right? I mean, obviously, true, because it has worked...
21 years later, I'm still here talking about it with the same passion.
And I'm interested in the rate of progression. I noticed reading the book, I would look at the years, the markers. It didn't take very long. 3 or 4 years later, you had your first $1 million month or $1 million... $1 million week or $1 million month. Anyway, it was booming. How could it, since it is relationships, how could it multiply that quick?
Well, that's the beauty of surmultiplication. I mean, we, as I said, began, first of all, the first meeting we ever held was in Montreal at the Four Seasons Hotel, and between the 2 of us, we had invited 127 of our best friends, and as the story goes, all 4 of them showed up. We had a full room for the presentation. And all of the 4 people that finally did show up that night were sitting in front of us. There was more people on stage than there were in the audience.
And was your mother one of the 4?
No, but
close.
But the reality was, from that one night, we kept doing this over and over and over again. And, you know, the beauty of a company that is built to last is that the quality of the people never lies. I mean, once in a while, there will be a quality person that will be attracted to an organization. That single person can make the difference. And that's what happened to Matol. Every week, every second, every third week, someone within the group of people that were looking into Matol got inspired, transformed by the beauty of the product or the potential of it, or they saw in it something that they needed to be a part of. And I'll tell you, when that gets a hold of you, it is one of the most powerful feelings you can have, because you now realize that you've got something that can bring out the best in you. And in each of us, that only comes when you have something that just inspires you.
And when you say the quality of the people doesn't lie, you're correct. But in the traditional industry, recruitment, as it's called, is very important. Here it's more, I mean, you have people coming up to you who say they want to help you. What will make you bet on someone and not on someone else?
It's absolutely no formula. I mean, and you talk to every other major companies out there in this industry, everybody's faced with the same situation. You have to understand that if you believe that what you have is a gift to mankind in our case, you have to present it that way, as a gift. They may have the time, they may have the interest, they may have the inclination, the money. At one point, some of them, for whatever reason, will say, yes, let me have a little bit of this to see how I feel about it. And if they have the same kind of reaction that you expect them to have, they eventually will want to be a part of this. And they'll find a way to make your own organization even better because of it. That's the surmultiplication. We started with 4 people in Montreal. Within the first year, you're right, we were across Canada. None of us had ever set foot in Vancouver, and we had 1,200 people in the main ballroom of the Four Seasons in Vancouver for our first meeting there. From there, because
that alone is incredible. So it was some kind of word of mouth.
Strictly, this is a people power organization. You're talking about politics, and you're talking about all religion and every mass movement that depends on a collective belief for things to be important. This is a perfect example. Around the belief that the mission of the company was to impact world health one day at a time, one person at a time. We only have this single product. This is not some merchant bank endeavor that basically said, here's $3 million, make sure you customize a business plan around this, you're a postgraduate from a business school, and make sure this is something that works. This was never intended to be anything but an organization that attracted people that cared about health, wanted to be a part of it, and a big part of it. It just happened that it was done at a time when the industry as a whole, the direct sales network marketing industry, started to grow. And we became a big part of it rapidly. Listen, within 3 years, the company was doing over $50 million. We were all over North America. Within 10 years, we had done way over $1 billion in sales cumulatively. We were in 12 countries everywhere in different, on all 4 or 5 continents around the world.
And obviously you had the appetite of the entrepreneur. 12 countries means you didn't want to stop in North America. You yourself went and planted the seed.
Well, it's not the leaders of the companies that do this. The attraction to a product like this or an organization like Matol is from the field. There are people who keep hearing about success stories. When we went to Malaysia the first time, I didn't travel to Malaysia. I never knew where Malaysia was on the map. I was a typical Canadian man who basically was running a business and having the time of his life and thinking he was the luckiest man on earth. All of a sudden, I've got a Malaysian delegation that lands in Montreal where head office is, home office, and they're spreading out the map of Southeast Asia in front of me, and they're saying, is there a possibility to join your organization and get a license or something for Southeast Asia? And all of a sudden, we're shipping products out there to an organization. We're training people, getting them organized.
How important is training, by the way? Because word of mouth enthusiasm, I can see the strength of that. That's irreplaceable. But how about a little bit of, I suppose they need content, they need materials, they need...
Anytime the backbone are the people, anytime the backbone of an organization are its people, you need to have very strong perimeters that have to do with the whys about this business. Why, where, what.
The 5 W's.
The 5 W's, and therefore the education that needs to go into it, the different areas that they have to put an emphasis on. That takes a lot of time.
But you have a school like...
Oh, we do. We have a program that our licensees and our people that are going to be accountable to us geographically away from the heart of the company have to go through and are accountable for. That's why there's a business model. It's called a Matol model. And that's the one that people accept and agree to present. I mean, there are different natural product food supplements company out there, some of them with great corporate cultures, but ours is very unique.
But do you ever fail? Do some students fail, don't have what it takes, and you part ways?
80%. 80% of the people that come into any of these companies that are very strongly driven by a corporate culture are too demanding. I mean, you demand the truth from somebody's purpose in joining you. I mean, they have to understand what's important for you. Not everybody agrees. I mean, you've mentioned the packaging. You know how many times we've had Madison Avenue advertising agencies come to us and basically say, listen, we can do wonders for you. We'll increase your sales 20% just by the look of the product. And we said, that's not what our priorities are.
And another thing you've done, which is an entrepreneurial choice, is you've stayed with a small product line. I think you're up to 12 products, but basically you could have branched out. We could have Matol soap, I suppose, and Matol shampoo and so on. You did not want to do that. You've stayed with the basic.
That is a business decision that is a reflection of our philosophy of life, because business-wise, with the kind of huge pipeline that you open up when you're worldwide, if you sell anything under the sun that people will buy anyway, you're bound to have a bigger volume and increase your sales and everything. I, for one, have always preferred to have a specific product mix that corresponds to a specialty that you identify, so that you can take the time to make sure your people do understand that you put a priority on this. And therefore, Matol, you're right, has only about a dozen products, and we cherish that. And our competitors usually have close to 100 or so products that they make available to their people. So every one of us have a different corporate culture that we try to refer to. Ours is a high-end, high specialty, blood, immune system kind of product line.
And you don't, I was also stunned, I remember asking you before the interview if you had wanted to set up shop in China to make it at a lower cost. And you never did that. You still make it where you started, in your factory, even though there might be lower cost elsewhere. Why?
Well, fundamentally, the quality control and the manufacturing process is not as simple as it sounds. I mean, if you truly care about what I've told you, which is I want to make absolutely sure, not probably sure, but absolutely sure that the potency of the products that people get are 100% effective, I'll tell you, I'm not sure that a paper trail can do this in a manufacturing process. For example, I have a microbiology lab within our manufacturing plant. The purpose of this microbiology is to make sure that the raw materials that are bought from brokers legally around the world are only used with the active ingredients within the raw material. So two people could be buying identical bushfuls of raw material, and by law they can use the full amount of those bushfuls to do the product. In one case, Matol redoes a whole screening of the raw material so that we may only use 60% of what's in there. But we are absolutely sure that when the product gets into the hands of a consumer, he is getting a 100% potent product, whereas the other person who has legally used the raw material that's available maybe only getting
he's only
60%.
He's doing your product in name only, really. He's just it's not the real thing. One thing that comes to mind, we live in a world of FDA approvals and so on, which you do have, but also medical counterindications of all sorts. Do you have that problem? And B, have you ever been sued by somebody who had indigestion or worse on it or something?
No, Matol's never had any kind of litigation of any nature for the product. After 21 years, we're very proud of this to this day. It is in Canada called Matol directly. It is a therapeutic product because fundamentally it has a DIN, which gives it pretty much the highest standing without being a drug, if you want to consider it a pharmaceutical. It is a full-fledged natural product. In the States, it is called KM. It's a potassium mineral supplement. And
you've not run into anything like that.
There is no counterindication on the product.
And therefore we can have some right now. And so Robert here.
More than happy to.
You told me the shot glass. You told me I can have it in a martini, which I will do tonight. But you said in the meantime the shot glass is the proper way. And there it is. And it does look like motor oil. It does look like motor oil. And on my glass, people will notice that more clearly. Or soy sauce. It looks like soy sauce to me. So
here's to impacting world health one day at a time, one person at a time.
All right, Robert. So here we go. I feel better already.
As my friend used to say, nectar of the gods.
And so, Robert, one thing we did not touch upon, we're out of time, is the direct marketing industry and multi-level marketing, which includes Tupperware and those. Yes. Would you consider coming back in the fall, and we can do that together?
I can certainly come back and would be delighted to.
Okay, and we'll have some.